A very good morning to everyone who's watching on Facebook and YouTube. This is Father Andrew Hayes on Thursday, the 21st of May at 10 a.m. I hope everyone's doing well, and the weather outside is pretty nice, but it's really horribly humid. So it's almost like Florida summer. But here we go. Never mind. I do have some news. I just want to check that I'm streaming on both channels online. Seems to be the case. And if that is the case, well, I can get on. What am I doing? Now, in theory, I have the ability to read. Let me get rid of that. Hooray. To type and to read messages on both channels, on both Facebook and on YouTube. So let me just try it. I'm just going to write hi and see what happens. Ooh, it's on. Bip. I've got Karen. Good morning, Karen. It's good to see you. And Facebook seems to say I've sent a message, but I don't see anything. But there you go. So what is the news? Well, the first bit of news is that I'll only be on for half an hour. That's because I'm expecting a delivery from FedEx that should have arrived on, well, it should have arrived first on the 4th of May. Then it just went into limbo. And then I didn't hear anything till last week. And a parcel is coming from California, and it ended up at Orlando, and it should have arrived yesterday, and they're telling me it's today. But I have to sign for it, and you know what it's like. If you're not there within a millisecond at the door, then you might as well just wave the back of the truck goodbye as it blows off into the sunset. So if I suddenly dart off, that's right, why. But the schedule is supposed to be between now and whenever you arrive at the moon. So there we go. So what have I got to tell you? What have I got in terms of news? Well, there was a meeting of the bishop with all the clergy on Tuesday. We did it by Zoom, which it was all right. I don't know how many were on, but it was a good number. And this was to do with the next steps towards opening up, I suppose we'd call it. We've heard all about what Florida's doing. We've heard what the Roman Catholic Church is doing, and I'd gotten information as to what our next door Episcopal neighbors in the Diocese of Central Florida are doing. And that is from the 31st of May, Pentecost, they're increasing the numbers who are able to go into the church. So I was kind of thinking that's what would happen. That's what would be happening to the Diocese of Southwest Florida, that the Bishop, Dabney Smith, would be updating us on our opening procedures. Well, it was an update, but we're maintaining a holding pattern. As far as the Bishop is concerned, the CDC, which is where he's trying to get most of his information from, has not changed its tune as to social distancing in terms of numbers 10 and below, and all that kind of thing. So he informed the clergy, including myself, that really nothing has changed. So we're keeping the same as we have done for the past, I don't know how many weeks now. So, but there are a couple of additions. And the first addition is that everyone has to be masked within the church during the service. And everyone has to maintain their social distancing. Well, people have been coming with masks, but as soon as they've gone into place and maintained their social distance within the church building, they've removed their masks so they could worship without it sounding like a lot of ventriloquist dolls in a box, you know, that kind of thing. But we're going to have to do it because the bishop said so. Another part is that the clergy, when they go to distribute communion, should be masked as well. And um, so I will be doing that. I've not been doing that. A third part was to do with if you sing. And I have to admit, I did not know this. But apparently, when you sing, if you sing with gusto, then what the, I don't know what you call it really, you just call it breath, with all the molecules, not molecules, you know what I mean, the thing, your breath. I'm so cogent, aren't I? I don't know how I do it. Anyway, um, you need to be at least 15 feet away from each other. So that's still doable with the number of people we have in the church, because I really do want people to be singing and singing out. It's part of our worship. Um, Hopefully, we'll encourage people who are in their houses watching this. I'm going to say in their cars, but that would be really dangerous. Watching a church service as you drive, no, don't do that. But to encourage you to sing as well, along as well, and hopefully we'll be picking up the hymn numbers from the um, Sunday bulletin that you should be getting in a PDF. Now, that being the case, that means the people in the church will have to spread out more so they can achieve this at least 15 foot of distancing. And as a final thing, upon reflection, I do already sanitize my hands before I start the Eucharistic prayer, and then again as I begin to distribute communion. Those of you who are eagle-eyed, I think you would have seen this, will have noticed on Sunday that I almost forgot to do it. And I picked up the ciborium to go off to distribute communion first to Josh, the organist. Then suddenly dawned on me, so I went back and then I sanitized my hands using the sanitizer on the credence table, and then went and distributed it. Now, thinking on that, if we're having to mask, then I'm thinking not only should I be sanitizing my hand, but maybe putting on a glove as well. So that's what I'll be doing from next Sunday. It is kind of disappointing, and lots of clergy were disappointed, myself included, because it's getting to a point now that yeah, we've done this for enough weeks now, and it would be really, really nice to be able to sort of have the community back together, at least in higher numbers, so that we're beginning to see progress in terms of the coronavirus being less of a threat to us. But the truth is that it isn't any less of a threat, because you, with the best will in the world, you could turn up to church feeling absolutely fine, and no amount of using one of those digital non-touch thermometers is going to tell anybody different, but you're okay. And yet you can still be harboring the coronavirus, and you can infect people, even with a mask, even with social distancing, although it just makes it less and less likely. And so the bishop, in his wisdom, has taken the side of caution, and I agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. However much it may be annoying, however much we still have to set up. Good morning, Louise. However much we have to set up this system and keep cleaning things and doing door handles and wiping down tops of pews and all the other protocols, that's still going to go on afterwards anyway. But this is where we are. And as frustrating as it can be, and is, and as still unused as I am to dealing with a camera rather than looking at people, the bishop, I think, has done the right thing. So that's where we are. Things could change tomorrow. Things could change next week. But the truth is that the virus is still very, very dangerous, still very, very prevalent, and is a silent killer. And as long as we keep that in mind about the dangers it um, can have, and we want to mitigate as much as possible those dangers to us, both as individuals and as a family, I think we're doing the right thing, even though it's burdensome. Other news from my front, which is kind of a similar theme, really. I've been watching these food banks who are not only struggling to provide food within the Tampa area for people, the need is absolutely massive. It's on a scale that's I've never seen ever in my life. Um, and these are people who've usually had jobs, been self-supporting, been able to look after themselves, and possibly even provided food for food banks themselves, who are now finding themselves in desperate need. And I've been wondering what I could do, because I just can't stand sitting around watching things happen. Well, my first thought when I watched a news item was to log on to this particular website that said you could volunteer to help at a food bank, either by packing up the boxes or giving out the boxes at the food center, or doing a distribution by going around places. And I thought, yes. And I went to sign up, thinking this would be a good thing. This would be something for me to get involved with, because I feel the need to do something. And as I typed, I started thinking about my own prominence as a worship leader, in and how I am near people. And it suddenly dawned on me, which should have been pretty obvious from the start, really, that it is not a good idea for me to put myself in any kind of danger, not because of me getting ill in particular, but because of that silent thing that I could become a carrier. I may not show symptoms, and yet I will be with people in the parish, and I just don't want to be a vector of illness. So I decided that it was not a good idea for me to sign up for one of those things. So I'm looking for other ways in which I can help out. And I suppose the only other real way I could do is by helping fund food for those who are in need. So if you are in the same boat as me, that you would like to do something, and I suppose the requirements would be something like that: you're on your own, you have no contact with anybody else, so that it's a safe thing for you, that you're not in that category which would be at risk with already, what do they call it, illnesses that would make you more likely to be infected. If you're not in those categories, if you're on your own and you feel that you have time and the ability to help, there is a lot of need out there, and I would commend to you local food banks, anything like that you can get involved with. If you're like me, that there are people around you and you need to still be able to function without having been in contact with possible vectors of disease, then we need to try other ways. And so please do look for ways to help your local community. And at least the least you can do is pray. So please do that as well. Now, having said all this, I'm going to open it up. I've gone on for 15 minutes of this 30 minutes. Remember, this is a half-hour session today. So tell me what's going on with you. First, let me just see how many people are actually online. 7 people. It's a quiet morning. It's good to see you all, though. Just, where's it gone? There we go. Just tell me how you all are. How are you getting on? Is everyone fine? Just put a note in the message thing, whatever it's called. and let me know, and I can have a sip of tea. This is English breakfast, even though it's 10:15. And yes, I'm drinking tea. Who knew? It's a coffee hour. I had tea last time. Never mind. But I'm hoping everyone is well. I'm hoping that everyone is managing to cope with the stresses. Good to hear, James, that you're okay. Holly's good morning to all. Ah, and oh, there were people asking about Father Lewis, and I can tell you that he's doing fine. He's now back at home. Has been almost a week now, and he's doing really, really well. And his treatments make it improve every day. Yes, yes, Karen. Just lose track of what day it is. Yeah, it's almost groundhoggy, isn't it? In the way that well, time goes both really slowly and incredibly quickly as well. I mean, it's Thursday. When I look at the past week, if I think hard enough, I can see I've done a load of stuff. But if I just think back, well, what did I do Monday? I'm thinking, well, what day is it now? It's just really weird. Susan, good to hear from you. I'm glad you're doing okay. Yeah, and being confined is an absolute bummer, but it keeps you safe, and that is the main thing. I've heard with great sadness about, and I don't even know where it was. I just kind of heard this in passing when I was walking past the TV. So it literally was in passing. About a church somewhere, a Roman Catholic church, that had opened up services, and then a whole heap of people um, got infected. Two priests got infected, and sadly, one of the priests died. Again, it just goes to show that an abundance of caution is the best approach, because it's just so sad that that has happened. And as James has reminded me, yes, it's the Feast of the Ascension. Um, so Jesus ascending to heaven to be at the right hand of the Father, where he intercedes on our behalf, and he left us with the Holy Spirit, which will be Pentecost in a couple of Sundays, the end of the month, the 31st. I think I'm right in saying that. And so it is one of the feasts of church. And look at me doing absolutely nothing about it. Shame on me. But it's one of those signs of the times. And I really didn't want to go down to the church and have to start cleaning tons of stuff up and do a solemn mass, basically almost on my own. It wouldn't have been on my own, of course, but you know what I mean. And it would have been a real chore, I think, to do that. But anyway, it's the Feast of the Ascension, and it's a good day in terms of our faith and what it means to us that Jesus did go up into the clouds. When I think of the Feast of the Ascension, and you may want to Google this, because I'm sure there are photos somewhere. Google, oh, sorry, I should say, use the search engine of your choice to look for the Ascension Chapel, Our Lady of Walsingham. So it's Walsingham. The Ascension Chapel, Our Lady of Walsingham. And hopefully there'll be a bunch of photos which show you this tiny chapel. It's not that big. And it's in the half round, like a little apse. And there's an altar there. And there's lots of altars. I don't know how many altars in Walsingham in the house. But this one is unique. I think it is anyway, because it doesn't look anything out of the ordinary until you look up. and it is the Ascension Chapel, and they have taken the words from Scripture absolutely literally. Because when you look up, you will see a cloud, and I think you see blue sky. At least there's blue paint, which may be to do with the sky, and you'll see the soles of a pair of feet, the feet of Jesus ascending to heaven. Um, it's really cute. That's the you know. First time I saw it, I laughed because um, I don't normally like literalism. Well, not to the point of being really, really literal. But this was, it had a kind of quaintness about it. And it's really stuck in my head, this the example of this three-decker universe with hell below, us here, and heaven being up there. Um, I just liked that. So if if you want to see something special on this feast day, then Our Lady of Walsingham. You don't remember seeing that when we were? Yeah, you really do have to know about it, James. Otherwise, you just don't look up. It's near the high altar on the south side. That's about all I can remember. My favourite chapel is the Chapel of St Wilfrid, only because my granddad was called Wilfrid and spelt exactly the same way. So, yeah, kind of shows I'm a bit of a softy, really, doesn't it, when I do things like that? So when I go to Walsingham, of which I am a priest associate, that's one of the chapels I will always use while I'm there. I will also try to use the house as well, but I think I've only managed to do that once. But when Father Lewis came over with me, he was invited to use it straight away. And I was like, what? That's, I have to ask and plead and sort of, please let me do it. Let me use the house. But no, he just said, can I say Mass? Sure. Do you want to use the house? I'm like, really? I never get that. Anyway, he even got to use the US prayer book. So that was good. And it was rather nice. And you start off with just me. I was answering. I was the congregation, but people turn up, and it's kind of eastward facing. So you have your back to the congregation, and every so often you'll turn. The Lord be with you. And at the beginning of the service, you'll be with turning to the people, and more turn up. So you have to be quite aware of the number of wafers you have in the ciborium, because you can really underestimate the number of people who will be there worshipping with you. It's also good to do those kind of things, to do an eastward facing service, Eucharist, because it reminds you that your job, for want of a better word, your ministrations as celebrant, is that when you have your back to the people, you are representing the people. But when you turn around, you're saying you're representing God. So with the absolution, with the blessing, it's you representing God. With you pleading the Eucharist, you're representing the people. Something which really doesn't come over at all when you're doing what my parish priest, Father John Martin, used to call an over-the-counter Eucharist, which is westward facing, like we do in both our chapel and in the main church. So that's a bit of news for you. The Ascension Chapel, Our Lady of Walsingham, and look at any pictures that are there. So how is everybody else? Anybody else not mentioned how things are yet? Wow, my poor laptop. It's really having to work hard. But then I like this, that it's able to view messages both from Facebook and YouTube. This is another program. So this is called, so let's see how it works. I'm using a program called Ecamm to get the video out of the computer into the ether. Then I'm using a program called Restream, which is taking that video and audio stream and splitting it so it can go both to YouTube and Facebook at the same time. And then I'm using something called Restream Chat, which allows me to chat and see chats both from YouTube and Facebook. And I don't know if you can hear it, but the fan is going full tilt on my laptop, which isn't a slow machine, so it's really taking a lot of its processing power to do all this. Dead air. So I'm using a different camera today. The last time I did it, I was using my camcorder, which is what I use on Sundays, because it has that zoom pull-in facility. And so this time I'm using just a Canon camera. It's got a better lens for one thing, and I won't have to be pulling things off tripods and bagging them every 10 seconds to take them to the church and bring them back. I'll be able to leave my camcorder at the church with all the other gubbins that's required. So the only thing I'll need to take down is the laptop. And I can tell you when it's down there, there's a whole bunch of things plugged into that. I should really take a photo of it all, just to show you what it is. Truth is, even if we could have more and more people in the church, if we're still streaming, it means that the center aisle is out of operation because of the risk of tripping up. Tripods, cables, all over the place. So that means people will have to receive communion once we get going, if we're still live streaming, which I suspect we will be doing. They'll have to go around the side aisles and then come back up the far way, so just to maintain that social distancing. So there we go. So I've mentioned the bishop's meeting and that nothing has changed. I've mentioned volunteering if you can, and it doesn't pose any threat to the health of anyone around you. And if you can't volunteer, then doing something in a different way, even if the only thing you can do is pray for all these food banks and charities which are trying so hard to feed those and to help those who are in desperate need now. I thank you all at St. Clement's for continuing in your pledging, and it's a wonderful, wonderful gift to us all. I thank you for your continued prayers. I thank you for all the texts and the emails I receive. If I don't get back to you, that's because I'm kind of getting swamped in a bunch of stuff, and that's both in texts and in emails. If you do need me, please do give me a call. Again, if I don't pick up straight away, leave a message. Just don't sort of close the call without saying at least hi. It'd be good to hear from you. If there is any need that you think we can help out with, either through the InReach program or the Rector's Discretionary Fund, again, please let me know. We are still open. The church, although we haven't been able to get together, isn't closed. We're still open for prayer. We're still open for praise. We're still open for testimony. We're still open to help those who are in need. And with that, it is half an hour. So I'm going to sign off now. So please take good care of yourselves. And I will see you on Tuesday next week. Tuesday at 10 o'clock. And hopefully I'll be able to do the full hour. I'll be able to give you some more updates as to where we are. And um, some news about what's going on in the parish. Oh, by the way, if you have any photographs that you could let me have to say what you're doing in this time of stay at home, staying safe, and you've got some photos of it and you haven't already sent them to me, please do. Send them either to the church's email address or I think, which you can find on the website. Otherwise, you'll know where to send them if you've got the anchor, because it has my email address on that, which is, I can tell you, rector@stclement.net. So any photographs or a little prose about what you're doing, that would be great. Well, good morning, Jamie. This is only in a half-hour session today, so I'm going to sign off now. There is some news in it, so if you want to wait until it appears as a fixed video in the systems of YouTube and Facebook, then you can watch the whole thing from the get-go. As I say, stay safe and God bless.